You're good.
Okay. Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026. We're here, Central Pines Regional Council Delegates, Board of Delegates meeting. We're in the conference room here at Central Pines and ready to rock. So we'll go ahead and call this to order. First and foremost, this is with virtual meeting laws and virtual etiquette. We need to make sure that everybody does identify themselves by name and community when speaking, and particularly when we're taking a roll call vote. Each vote does have to be conducted by a roll call. And then with that, speaking of roll call, we're going to need to go ahead and make sure we know who's here to see if we have a quorum. So I'm going to ask Ms. Beth Seidel to get our roll call going and do make sure we give name and community with the roll call to acknowledge your presence.
And I know we have some new folks here, so I'm going to go in alphabetical order by community. So just know that's how it's going to go. And then whenever we get to the vote, we just do one vote per community. So if your alternate is here as well, we just do the delegates vote. All right, we'll start with Aberdeen.
Alan Brewington, Town of Aberdeen.
Andrew.
Chevelle Harmon, Town of Anger, present.
Apex.
Terry Mahaffey.
Butcher Lodge. Benson. Broadway.
Donald Andrews, Town of Broadway.
Carborough.
Danny Nowell, Town of Carborough.
Carthage. Cary. Chapel Hill. Chatham County.
Amanda Robertson, Chatham County.
Layton. City of Durham. Durham County. You're muted. Yeah, I gotcha. All right. Foxfire. Fuquay Varina.
Christopher Bourne, Fuquay Varina.
Garner. Hillsborough.
Rob English, Town of Hillsborough.
Holly Springs.
Chris DeShazer, Holly Springs.
Johnston County. Henley. Nightdale. Lee County.
Lee County, Kirk Smith.
Micro.
Katie Garcia, Town of Micro.
Moore County. Morrisville. Orange County.
Gene Hamilton, Orange County.
Pine Level. Pine Bluff. Pinehurst.
Barb Ficklin, Pinehurst.
Pittsburgh. Princeton.
Stacy Johnson, Town of Princeton, present.
Raleigh. Robbins. Goldsville.
Ronnie Curran, roll 2.
Stanford. Selma.
Byron McAllister, Town and Sullivan.
Tyler City. Smithfield. Southern Pines. Taylortown. Bass. Wake County.
Susan Evans, White County.
Wake Forest. Wendell. Spring Pines. Wilson's Mills,
Ross Riley, Wilson Smith.
and Zebulon.
Jenna Baxter, Zebulon.
All right, we have quorum.
And this is Kathleen Ferguson from Hillsborough. Apologies, I am late, but I am here.
Thank you.
And this is Ben Clapp, out from Wake Forest. I'm here. I'm late, but I'm here.
Thank you.
Very cool. Very cool. It has been that type of day. I got here about a minute late myself. Yeah, that type of day for everybody. Well, get to know CPRC. This is something that Chairman Brett Gant started, which has been very valuable, particularly in understanding where we have come from to understand where we're going. We're still talking about a lot of the same problems that we started talking about 50-some years ago with Central Pines and with our previous Triangle J Council of Governments. Mr. Curran, you've seen quite a bit of that, haven't you? Over the years. My man. My man. So in 1963, the then Research Triangle Regional Planning Commission received a federal grant from the Urban Renewal Administration of the Housing and Home Finance Agency under the Urban Planning Assistance Program. The grant helped the planning commissioner produce a set of urban land use maps. The original map for Raleigh, a portion of Durham, Cary, and Chapel Hill are on the counter and hang permanently in the Central Pines offices. The rest of the maps are part of the Central Pines Preserves Library and demonstrate a rich part of our region's history. So we have those maps.
They're right over there. Yeah, they're usually in our main offices, but we brought them over today. And they're really cool, one, to see, to think about the growth of the region, but also what's really fascinating about these maps are that they are hand drawn in terms of somebody actually went through and colored and shaded for each of the uses. The railroad tracks are actually taped railroad tracks. And so we're really proud to be able to have preserved these. We found these as we were doing our renovation 4 years ago and made a decision that rather than trying to figure out art to put in the office, our region is beautiful and has lots of beauty just in terms of the planning. So we're using the maps as part of the decor for our offices. So, yeah.
You mean
Before the age of Adobe then, right?
Yeah, so they didn't use AI to do any of it?
No.
Didn't even have access to a computer.
Yeah, right.
Lots of elbows, EG.
Oh, wow. Cool. Little tidbits, and great information, great visuals here. Thank you all. Thank the staff for keeping those pieces for our region. That's fantastic. All right, taking a look at the agenda. Do we have any adjustments, any changes to make to the agenda? Speak up now. Hearing none, I'll approve the agenda. And that brings us into the recognition of new Board of Delegates members. We've got quite a list here. Quite a bit of change over this last cycle. New delegates and alternates join the Central Pines Regional Council Board of Delegates yearly because of elections and the local government appointment process. Each January, the board welcomes these new board members to the Board of Delegates and ask each new board member and alternate to introduce themselves. We're going into this a little bit late, of course, since we weren't able to do that in January due to, quite frankly, everybody being frozen in. We're going to do that at this April meeting. So I'm going to go through the list, and as I get to your name, if you're here or online and you want to say anything to the board, introduce yourselves to the board, we'll do that. So we're going to start off with Fallon Brewington, town of Aberdeen. Would you like to say anything to everybody?
Well, we're lucky to have her.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Thank you. Terry Mahaffey, Apex.
Yeah, that's me. Hey, everybody, how you doing?
Hey, man.
Thanks. Yeah, I know I got big shoes to fill. I know Councilmember Gant was a former chair, president, spoke highly of the organization and the mission that you guys have here. He's, retired from public life, thankfully.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to step into that role and see what we can do here. Like that.
Glad to have you here. Thank you. Lynn West Green, Broadway, a new alternate. Lynn,
Mr. Chair, Mayor Pro Tem Green is dealing with some illness and could not be with us this evening. Actually, she's the delegate. I'm the alternate.
oh, I'm sorry. So we'll make sure.
Hopefully, she'll be able to make the next meeting, but yeah, she sent her regards, but she's with some health issues, and hopefully we're praying for her speedy recovery.
Absolutely. Mr. Andrews, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Oh, let's see. Danny Noel, Carborough, I know we got you online.
Hey y'all, good evening. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. Juggling my 4 and 7-year-old. Really excited to step in for Councilmember Haven O'Donnell. I know she was here a long time. I'm also a representative to the Triangle West Transportation Planning Organization. So very excited to continue to collaborate regionally with all y'all.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Barbara M. Fouché, Carborough. And I believe that's an alternate.
I think our mayor is not here this evening, but I know that she would want to send some greetings from me.
Sir, thank you very much. Sarika Bansal, Cary delegate. We've got Bella Hong, that is the Cary alternate. And then Ruth Anderson, Clayton delegate. Jody McLeod, our Clayton alternate. Javier Caballero, Durham delegate and part of the executive committee. Matt Kopic, Durham alternate, part of the executive committee. We've got Christopher Vaughan, Fuquay Varina delegate.
Hey, good evening. I'm a new commissioner in Fuquay. So this is my first meeting since the February meeting was canceled due to the weather. So looking forward to seeing how it goes and getting to meet everyone. I wish I could have been there in person, but I also have children taking up my time. So
thank you for joining us virtually, and we're looking forward to working with you through the year. Rob English, Hillsborough alternate.
Hey, everyone.
Sarah Lawson, Holly Springs. Oh, I'm sorry. Rob, I apologize.
Rob English, Town of Hillsborough. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to learning and working with you in the future.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. English. And then Sarah Larson, Holly Springs alternate.
I don't think Sarah's here, but she definitely will be. You'll love working.
Awesome. Very excited. Very cool. Thank you, sir. LaWanda Neal, Kinley alternate. I don't believe I saw LaWanda online. Steve Evans, Knightdale delegate. Jessica Day, Knightdale alternate. And we got Mr. Kevin Worley, the micro alternate. Anything you want to say about Kevin?
Kevin sends his best. He's just getting back from his stepdaughter's wedding, so.
Very cool.
But he's very excited to work with all of them.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Thank you. Thank you. Vicky Scroggins Johnson, Morrisville delegate. Pete Patel, Morrisville alternate. Sally Green, Orange County delegate and part of the executive committee. Jimmy Garner, Pine Level alternate. Rachel Dysart, Pine Bluff delegate. Kevin Fitzpatrick, Pinehurst delegate. John Bonnet, Pittsboro delegate, part of the executive committee. Mike Holmes, Princeton alternate. Cameron Dockery, Robbins delegate. Cynthia Bray, Siler City delegate. Norma Boone, Siler City alternate. Bridget Cotton, Taylortown delegate. Sydney Gaddy, Taylortown alternate. Ben Clapsaddle, I know you popped in, Wake Forest delegate.
Yeah, hey, Ben Clapsell here. Thanks for having me and look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Faith Cross, Wake Forest alternate. Braxton Honeycutt, Wendell alternate. Chris Slyman, Whispering Pines alternate.
Went to one meeting while I came up here, so he says hi.
Doris Riley, Wilson's Mills delegate.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. All right. I saw that list when Beth sent that to me a little bit ago. Near water. And that brings us into our conversation about our CPRC 2026 through 2029 strategic plan. You want to take that?
I will do my best. Just so I'm battling Carolina hurricane voice. And also with the allergies, I've all of a sudden gotten a tickle in my throat. So if I have to take a drink of the water, I apologize. Go Canes. We're really excited to present to you this evening our draft strategic plan for 2026 through 2029. This is actually strategic plan 2.0 for the organization. Our first venture into a strategic plan was several years ago, and I really thank the board for being supportive of us. Really using that strategic plan as a learning opportunity, doing a strategic plan for a council of governments. It's really not as straightforward as an organization that has really neatly defined programs or departments. So I think we did a good job with the strategic plan, but really more importantly, I think we learned a lot as an organization, and you would expect and hope that from any plan, or really anything you do. And so we took that learning and really have been able to do this strategic plan completely on our own. We haven't engaged any facilitation or services. We wanted to do this on our own with the lessons that we've learned. So having said that, I want to thank our staff for putting a lot of time and effort and thought into this plan. I also want to thank the executive committee. The executive committee met, I think it was back in November, for a half-day retreat. And in a very short amount of time, they were able to articulate to us very clearly the vision of the organization and things that they wanted us to do, and also, just as importantly, areas that they were not interested in us getting involved in. And so we were able to bring that back to staff and really build a plan that I hope is acceptable to you this evening. We're asking the board this evening to adopt our plan. We presented this plan to the executive committee last month. There were no changes to the plan. They endorsed us moving this forward to the board for consideration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to very quickly go through the mission, the vision, our new strategic focus areas and goals only. We also provided you with the full plan, all of the strategies. So as we're bringing this to you, we're asking the board to, at the high level, adopt our strategic focus areas and our goals. Strategies are what staff are working on to begin moving us in a direction to meet those goals. So we'll continue to refine the strategies based on what the board approves tonight. But we're not asking for the strategies to be approved, but we definitely want to share with you where we were, and certainly open to suggestions if you have any. The other item that is extremely important are our measures. We have begun, we wanted to make sure that we were heading in the right direction with the goals before we really began working on strategies, and then before we began working on measures. So we've really jumped into measures in the last couple of weeks. and are beginning to develop those. And what we envision is to have a dashboard with measures that we can have available on our website. We can report back to the board, and measures that we can actually use over time to be able to see how we progress toward these goals. So that's sort of the last part of this. So with that, I'm really excited to present the plan. So if you'll go to the next slide, the executive committee at their retreat endorsed our mission and vision statement and did not change anything. So we moved forward with the plan with the same mission and vision that this board adopted 3 or 4 years ago. The mission and vision that you have were significantly changed when we developed our first strategic plan. So we have decided to keep the mission and vision in place to continue that roadmap into the future. So if you go to the next slide. So one of the big lessons learned, and it's interesting, you know, we talked a lot with this first strategic plan that one of the natural barriers that we have as an organization is the way we are funded and the restrictions that we have on a lot of our funding and a lot of the work that we do. We naturally silo very easily. And it's not purposeful, right? But we get a transportation grant, we get a housing grant, we get a grant for something else, aging and area agency on aging. And because of that, it's very natural to silo. But we said for many years, the strength of the region, the strength of the COG is trying to bring those different things together, right? Because as you're doing work and we're doing work, all of that stuff works together and is dependent on each other. But guess what we did? We created focus areas for housing and transportation, and we didn't even think about it. And about halfway through the plan, we were like, wait a second, we just siloed ourselves. And so our new focus areas really are meant to try to bring together these operational areas, these tactical areas, to bridge ourselves across what we're calling service areas. So our first one are thriving people and communities, and that includes the great work that our area agency on aging is doing and our human service work. So that's work like in our homelessness area and other opportunities that we may see. I'm not going to say every goal, you see them there, but I do want to say in the italics for everybody that's maybe virtual or listening that really the goal of this focus area is to support the well-being, health, and quality of life for all residents across the region through direct assistance, age-friendly communities, community outreach, and service coordination. So that's the really North Star for this first focus area. Second area is our connected places. So connected places is all about creating accessible, well-planned, and linked communities through coordinated land use, transportation networks, housing opportunities, regional water sewer opportunities, and regional planning. So these are our this is our land use work, our transportation work, our housing, and our water and sewer infrastructure work. We also do water sewer quality, which is not in this focus area. But this is, talking about connected region, we've talked about that quite a bit, that to be connected as a region, all of these things have got to work together and need to be coordinated in order to be well planned and to think about the future and the future growth that we're going to see. So the third focus area is our prosperous and sustainable region. This is building economic and environmental resilience through strategic asset building, resource protection, and community resilience initiatives. These are our community development efforts, our environmental protection efforts, our resilience efforts, and then a new area is emergency management. And I just wanted to highlight, this is where one example of where our executive committee was very helpful. We recommended initially that this be emergency management and public safety. Our executive committee said that they did not feel like public safety was ripe for us to be involved in at this point in time. But really did get excited about emergency management, thinking about flooding, thinking about coordination with hazard mitigation plans, that sort of regional planning around those sorts of incidents or issues. And so we agree and narrowed that focus in order to include just our emergency management and resilience work. All right, 4 is our regional excellence and innovation. So serving as the premier convener and catalyst for local government members through technical assistance and expertise, collaboration, innovative solutions, and efficient shared services. So this looks like a lot, but this is really our former member services, member support. We broke it out a little bit to be a little more specific and targeted on the types of things that we're going to do. So technical assistance, member support, innovation, collaboration, shared services, regional policy, that's new. And regional data center is not new, but that used to be housed under our transportation work. For many, many years, most of our data work was directly related to the support that we give to our 2 MPOs in this area. We now have 3 in the region, but primarily to Triangle West and Campo. And we believe that we need to be a broader umbrella around regional data, and so have moved that into Focus Area 4 to be more than just transportation. Regional policy, we've talked about quite a bit. One of the strengths and one of the things that we really heard from our elected officials other than things like data and thinking broadly about strategy and where the region's going, but also at a high level being a thought leader around policy issues, not lobbying, but being a thought leader to begin to think about how we can structure and talk about the issues that are affecting our local governments in a data-driven way and provide good information for you all as you have conversations where you need to around different policy ideas. Focus Area 5 is our last one, and that's our organizational excellence. That's ensuring that we have operational effectiveness, financial stewardship, compliance, and organizational capacity to deliver on the mission through strong administrative functions and strategic internal investments. And so that's our admin functions, that's our non-departmental functions. We're only as good as the awesome staff and resources we give them. So it's very important that we have aggressive strategies and goals under this area to provide the other 4 areas what they need to do a job. So that encompasses our recommended strategic plan. You see in the budget that we didn't assume, but we wanted to go ahead and organize our budget according to what we're proposing in the strategic plan so that you can see how it would work. And we would ask that the board consider adoption of this plan to be effective July 1st, 2026. And I'm happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your time.
We'll open up the floor for questions, and please, for the sake of everybody, make sure we give name and town before we shoot away with questions, comments.
Yeah, Ronnie Kern, Rose Hill. Could you expand a little bit on 3A, the grant writing? You do a good program already. So what are you doing through?
Under which
it's area 3.
Prosperous region.
Yeah, so we agree with you. We believe that one of the strengths that the organization has is grant writing. So we believe that being able to expand on that service, whether it's increasing the number of local governments that participate, or finding other ways that we can provide grant support, Also, an important piece of that is the grant administration. So we do a lot of grant writing, not as much grant administration, and we believe that we can provide a lot of value and security on the grant admin portion since we have a lot of experience with federal and state funds. So it's really trying to beef that up to provide that value and really security and comfort that a trusted organization can administer those funds effectively. That's for both federal grants, but I think there's opportunities too in state grants, even General Assembly appropriations to individual local governments where we could provide those admin services very effectively.
Do you assist in finding grants?
We do. Yes, sir. That's through our grant admin program. We have Elena. Where's Elena? How many local governments do we have participating in that right now?
I think it's 16, including Roseville.
Yeah. It's a good program. I can use painting and making it even better.
Thank you, sir.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Terry Mahaffey in Apex. Could you speak a little bit about what the statutory requirements or definitions of the organization and how that relates to the strategic plan? And specifically, I'm curious, is there a statutory prohibition on the organization lobbying the General Assembly on certain policy stuff we see sometimes?
Yeah, that's a good question. So statutorily, we're established under General Statute 160A. We were established as a local government, and we're given the ability to provide any municipal or county services that our local governments ask us to provide. The only prohibition that is really explicit is that we do not have ordinance making authority, so we can't adopt region-wide ordinances. We can't impose region-wide taxes. If we were, to me, there's a distinction. I've often recommended to the board, I think our sweet spot is not in lobbying, but it is in providing data and information on impacts of certain policies on our region collectively to then give to the individuals or the organizations that can lobby. We do employ a federal lobbyist for our grant administration work. I believe we could lobby. If we did lobby, we would certainly have to register and do everything that a local government would have to do. There's no prohibition on us lobbying. However, I personally don't believe it really would be the most effective role for this organization.
Lee, this is Kathleen. You may want to distinguish between the legislative activities of the association, the forum, versus the COG itself.
Yes. Good point, Ms. Ferguson. So we also do have a state association, the North Carolina Association of Regional Councils of Government. That association does also employ a state lobbyist. We do have a regional legislative priority list. Ms. Ferguson is our representative to the forum, which is an elected official from each of the regions. That usually is limited to issues that are affecting regional councils. So things like, an example is trying to get funding to help local governments with finance issues to the COGS, more money for long-term care ombudsman services, those types of things. We've never really gone into state or county, local, municipal or county issues per se. Does that help?
Yep. Thank you.
There are questions on the plan?
I'll just make a comment, Byron McAllister, Town of Selma Chair, that the executive board, very much in our conversations with staff, wanted to make sure that staff wasn't getting too deep in the weeds with on-the-ground operation. So one of the big examples that came up was the involvement in homeless outreach programs. And then understanding that there were so many different homeless outreach programs within our region, within certain cities, within certain areas, that it might be better for the regional council to act as a connective tissue between all the options that exist instead of becoming another option. So that was a big part of beyond homelessness, all of the conversation with these strategic focus areas being the connective tissue and the resource to make the appropriate connections versus being another piece or another option as part of all the options that are. Anybody else? Okay, well,
I'd like to add it to the consent agenda.
we have a motion to go ahead and make sure we leave it on the consent agenda. Is everybody okay with that? Leave it on consent. Is there anybody who would like to take it off of consent? Sure. Hearing none, leaving it on consent. Thank you, Mr. Colonel. Brings us into a public hearing about that 2026-2027 recommended budget.
Okay, so you're stuck with me again. This is the recommended annual budget for Central Pines for fiscal year 2026-2027. And since we do have a number of new board members, since we are a local government, we do have to have a public hearing, just like you do in your county or municipality. I serve as the budget officer and make a recommended budget or present a recommended budget just like your city or county manager would do. But ultimately the budget adoption is up to the board. And you are free to make any changes that you would like. We will present to you in May a budget resolution. And I just had mentioned that one of the things that we cannot do are pass ordinances. So that's why you may ask, well, why is this not a budget ordinance? Because we can't do that. So you'll see a budget resolution in May. Just a overarching comment for our board as I present this. COG budgeting. So I've been in local government management for 27 years now. I've prepared budgets and helped prepare budgets and presented budgets as an interim manager of $300 or $400 million in Durham County. COG budgets are much more complex, even at 36 million, because we have 113 programs, I think is the latest count. If you change one thing, like on our indirect rate or pull a position, add a position, it changes every budget because how we have to budget our overhead and things. So really the budget that you all get, it's not as much of a, many of you may be used to, department heads making recommendations and making requests and the manager cutting or doing this. We really are only dealing with reality. This program will give us this much money, so we can, 20% of a position will be on that. So it's very different. So if you have any questions, please ask. It even took me, as somebody who had been doing budgets for decades. There's still times where I'm like, wait a second, how does this work? And hope gets me back on the right track, and I feel better. So
yes, that's right. The award-winning Jolly. That's right. So do we have any questions to start off? And then what I'll do is, if we don't have any questions initially, we're going to open a public hearing to make sure we have the public hearing to get the budget presented. And then even after that, we're going to make room for more questions as you're looking through the budget and all that good stuff. So we're going to have plenty of time to ask questions and make sure that everybody understands all these numbers on paper. So before that, let's get the presentation of the budget. Then we'll get some questions after that, and then we'll have the public hearing, and then even more questions after that. Okay?
All right. So next slide. So this is the condensed version. We started working on the budget actually in December and January. We have to really set our administration budget even before we begin doing the other budgets, because we have to, we'll talk a little bit about our indirect rate later, but we have to get what we're gonna spend on our overhead and admin set so that we can get that indirect rate perfected, because the last thing I wanna do is say, hey, everybody, the indirect rate is this, and then something happened, and then I have to increase it by 2%, and then everybody's gotta cut their budget 103%. So it's almost a two-step process how we do our budget. But the major deadlines, the charter, our charter, which each of the local governments adopt, has a deadline of April the 15th, where I have to let each of our local government members know if there are going to be any changes to the member dues. And so I sent out the budget and the dues recommendation on the 14th. We've advertised, and tonight is the night for the budget public hearing. And then on the 27th, we will bring back the budget resolution for your consideration. Next slide. So our recommended budget is $36.3 million. That is about a 0.08% increase from last year. So a very, very small increase. Within this budget, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, is also the Triangle West TPO budget, which is separately submitted by the Triangle West Executive Director and approved by their policy board. So if you were to take away the Triangle West budget, and if you were just looking at the Central Pines budget, we actually, our budget has gone down about $1.5 million from last year. So total budget, just a little bit of increase. Central Pines budget reduction of about $1.5 million. What we're seeing is a wind down of many ARPA related programs, a wind down of some other programs that we were working on. But with that, we have some other new opportunities that we'll talk about in a few minutes. Next slide. And I realize this is pretty small. So small enough, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to read it. So our dues for this year are 44 cents per capita. No change in dues for our local government members. That dues number is implemented for local governments until you get to a 400,000 population. Once you get to 400,000, the dues rate goes down to 20 cents. About 4 or 5 years ago, that threshold was 250,000. I've been recommending raising that by 50,000 every year until all our member governments are paying at the 44 cent per capita. When we started this, there were, I think, 4 or 5 member governments that were having a dues reduction. Right now, only Raleigh is the only local government that is subject. And if we continue with the 50,000 every year, I think in 2 years, Raleigh, we won't have that sort of split dues rate. The other thing that's important, no, because the counties are only charged on the unincorporated population. And the reason for that is, so municipalities are charged, right? Municipalities are charged on their full population, counties unincorporated. Part of that is a double dip. The other part is, and we'll talk about this in more detail, the counties actually pay an additional aging share for the services of the Area Agency on Aging. And so counties contribute to that human service. And we'll talk more about how appreciative we are of that. And it's still not enough. And it's not a criticism of the county. It's really the state and feds that are not doing what they need to be doing. I wanted to correct something. I incorrectly said that the cap was going from 400,000 to 450. I was a year ahead of myself. It's 350 to 400,000. So just wanted to make sure I articulated that. All right, next slide. So let's talk about, I like to call it member investment because I really do view the dues as an investment. So the dues that we charge out to our 50 local government members equal $976,000, and we are so appreciative of that. But when you look at that, it's 2.4% of our entire budget. However, it's really it is the only discretionary dollars we have in the entire $36 million budget is that $976,000. And so we have to lean on that to do our matching funds for any new grant opportunities that might require a match. There are opportunities where we probably could have matched something with another federal source, but the federal government doesn't allow that. So we have to find local money to match. I'll talk a little bit more about our fund balance, but we continue to need to rebuild our fund balance. And again, that's the only source of funds that we have to do our fund balance rebuild. The other really critical piece of this, all of our staff, there's not one that are funded 100% with member dues. And so even Elena, who's our local government services director, half of her position is member dues. The other half are specific projects that we get to provide a specific service. Our transportation director is 40%. Community Economic Development Director, I think, will be 35. Jenny's 10. I'll be 5% next year. And so why do we do that? Because we try to stretch that member dues across multiple positions, but not necessarily for me, but for our leadership team. That's the only time they have to provide leadership, supervision, look for new opportunities, or respond to a member need. And so it is really tight for those dollars. The other thing is that's the only money we have for contingency. Last year, you all may remember this number because it scared me to death, but we made it. We've made it through. We budgeted $3,500 for contingency. We're gonna be able to budget $44,000 this year. But I mean, it's tight. It's tight. So we just really appreciate the dues. And we know that all local governments have to make decisions, and we hope you feel like that the dues are a good investment of money to be part of a regional discussion, a regional organization. So really every $100 that goes out the door of Central Pines, really one quarter is member dues. So it's quite a leverage and investment, I believe. All right, next slide. So we talked about mission and vision. You know, we really believe in this, and our staff does too. We're here to support you as local government members. We want to be your leading resource around technical assistance and other things that are important to me. I tell managers many times that I want them to consider us an extension of their staff. That's why we're here. We're really extensions of the 50 locals. Next slide. So we've talked about the strategic plan. I won't belabor this, but we really spent the time to reorganize the budget according to what we had recommended in the strategic plan. It's not adopted yet, but we did anticipate that hopefully you all would look on this favorably and organize the budget around that. So next slide. So let's talk about thriving people and communities, and I am not going to be able to read it, so I'm going to move. I was trying to stay here because the camera's there, so folks virtually may see the back of my head, but at least they'll be able to read. So thriving, and I'm not going to read everything here. You all have the full budget message, and I can go into details on anything. But I think the important thing, Thriving People, really our area agency on aging is the bulk of this investment, $16.6 million dollars. This is that local aging share that is absolutely critical from our county government. So I'll dive into that a little bit more. 16 FTEs there. And I'll talk more about long-term care ombudsman and the Older Americans Act as we get into some further slides. All right, next slide. I'm gonna do it right now. So let's talk about the long-term care ombudsman. Last year, if you were here, you got to hear about some of the great services our long-term care ombudsman provide individuals. There was a specific story about somebody that received great care. I think it was from you, Carolyn, wasn't it? And Carolyn is one of our long-term care ombudsmen. So let's talk about that program a little bit. So long-term care ombudsmen are 5 terrific individuals in our organization that go to our 13,000 long-term care beds in the entire region and interact with the residents of those facilities and make sure that those residents are basically taken care of as they should be, right? If a resident or a family has a concern about something, they can call these individuals and confidentially speak to them. They will go in and work with administrators to try to resolve those issues. And really, the focus of these 5 individuals is to make sure that these long-term care residents are treated how they have the rights to be treated, right? And they call them residents for that reason, right? They're residents. So that's their home. That's their residence. And so the other unique part of this is that they are authorized through federal and state law to be able to enter those facilities at any time and to be able to do the work that they need to do. And really, there's no telling how many opportunities where if our ombudsman had not intervened, that it would have ended up at the county or the state level for a harsher sort of intervention. So we would much rather see things dealt with quickly and through conversation and mediation than through regulation and through enforcement, right? And plus these individuals deserve that. So a couple of points. There's a national standard that an ombudsman should serve about 2,000 beds. So our 5 ombudsmen, this is the 2,000 bed line. Every single one of them are serving more than 2,000 beds. So right now, we probably need 7 ombudsmen to just meet the standard. And let me say this, we are not alone. I think if you talk to any COG in the state, they're going to have the same message. So it's not a Central Pines only issue. So I do want to say that. In order to fully fund our ombudsman program, we probably would need about $250,000 additional funding. So we had that issue. But the other part of this issue that I think is really important is these should be positions that the federal and state government fund. The Older Americans Act and through state funding, this blue should be all blue. But what's happened year after year, even back to 2013 when I looked at the audit, our county partners have contributed $250,000 every year to make sure that we have 5 ombudsmen rather than 3. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So we have 3 of our county folks here for doing that. Because if you didn't, we would only have 3. So unfortunately, what we've had to start doing with this budget is not only relying on that county generosity, but now we're actually also having to take money off the Home and Community Care Block Grant that goes to the counties to be distributed for aging services to keep this program whole and not to have to go to the county and ask for more money. We're pulling some money off the Home and Community Care Block Grant. So, we have some issues that we need to address, but that's only part of the story. If you go to the next slide, who here does anybody think our region's not growing? So the really interesting part is, yes, our region's growing, but guess what's growing exponentially? Our 85 plus population. So this is our 85 plus population in 2024, 218% growth by 2044, 105,000 85 plus, 72,000 additional 85 plus. If you look at the whole state, this is our region for the whole state. So 72,000 of the 271,000 growth is just in our region. That's a lot of people.
We have good health care.
Yeah.
That's right. And then the reasons for it, right? So if you go to the next slide, I did a little, this is not scientific. This is Lee's educated guess, okay? So we have 3 ombudsmen. I don't know, Carolyn, are you the light blue or the dark blue?
I'm the light.
You're the light. See, I knew I liked you. So we have 3 ombudsmen that are funded properly with federal and state funds, 2 ombudsmen that are funded with county local aging share. I'm not making a prediction that if we have a 218% increase in 85 plus, that we're going to have a 218% increase in long-term care beds. But I think I can reasonably say we'll double our beds, maybe. That means 9 additional ombudsmen needed in the next 20 years. So we need to be thinking and planning about adding probably an ombudsman every other year to keep up with the growth. So if you go to the next slide, I didn't say this, but part of what you will see in the budget is that I'm actually, because Beth doesn't let me write as long as a budget message as I would like. I used to, when I was in the county, writing 25-page long budget messages. Yeah, I'm actually doing a supplement just on this issue that we're gonna send out on Monday. And part of the recommendations, and you actually see this in the strategic plan, we're going to begin convening our county partners twice a year to specifically talk about these issues around aging and what we all collectively need to be doing together to address the growth. Because I don't want to just go to the county and say, I think y'all need to pay more. I understand the pressures that the counties have, right? We all need to put our heads together and think about how we collectively address those needs, okay? All right, so we won't have as elongated explanation on all of it. So Connected Places, that's an $8.8 million budget. A significant portion of this, and we're really proud of this, is our weatherization program that we were just awarded. So you may have seen the announcement that we were awarded a $10 million weatherization grant from the state. We're going to be working in 15 counties over the next 3 years to do weatherization on over 900 homes. And so the first year of that is $2.7 million spend. So that's a lot of this budget. And we do have some programs that are winding down, Safe Streets for All, Safe Routes to School project. And we are also seeing some reductions in our transportation demand management program from state DOT. All right, next slide. So our prosperous and sustainable region, that's a $3.2 million budget. So some of the projects that we're working on there, $500,000 for the Trinity Zion Church in Southern Pines. We're helping them with things like roof replacements and other things. We do planning support for Goldston and Carthage, a lot of environmental resilience efforts that we're working on, and continuing to work on some solarized and electrified programs that have been requested by our members as well. All right, next slide. So regional excellence and innovation, just over $1 million. These are our technical assistance, our grant writing program, facilitation. and our Human Resources Consortium, which I'm excited about. How many local governments participate in that?
And which one?
I think it's
HR one.
That's
Nine.
Nine.
So we have 9 local governments that now participate in an HR consortium where HR directors come together and are working on some really important issues to them. That's where we also do our logo career fair out of that. We're also winding down our support of Wake County with ARPA. We had a $20 million investment from Wake County and 70 some nonprofits as part of their ARPA program, and they asked us to administer those dollars, and that program was winding down in the next few months. So next slide. And then finally, organizational excellence and innovation. So this is our finance department, our clerk to the board, our executive operations, our IT. That's a $2.8 million budget. But what's important is that you won't see that number in the budget specifically because we get those dollars from our indirect rate. So all 103 programs will have a line item that says indirect. And if you add all 103 of those lines, you won't get 2.8, but you get 2.8 minus whatever our non-departmental number is. So that's what funds are, executive functions. So 6.91 FTEs. Next slide. I mentioned Triangle West TPO. So Triangle West is a separate legal entity that we provide administrative services for. That includes providing office space for them, doing their financial AP, AR. They are legally Central Pines employees for retirement purposes and payroll, but they report to the Triangle West TPO executive director, who reports to the Triangle West board. They separately adopt a budget, which is this $6.3 million for these FTEs. So your role with this budget is simply to adopt it. This board doesn't have any say over this amount. So I just wanted to be very clear. The Triangle West TPO board approves that. All right, next slide. But it will be included in your resolution. Slide. All right, let's talk about new positions. So they're bucketed into 2 things, one for us and one for West. A year or so ago, we had to do some layoffs because of some actions by the federal government on some programs where we were told that they weren't going to be funded. Well, some of those programs are now coming back. And so we are able to now rehire a position for our Clean Cities and Clean Fuels program. We also are going to be creating a rehab specialist position because of all the housing rehabilitation projects that we're working on. Right now, that's a contracted out, but we feel like having it internally will provide better oversight and better coordination. And then because of some of the increase in member assistance needs, we'll be hiring a planner 2. The Triangle West budget includes 3 additional positions requested by their director. And again, that's really more just a pass-through, right? So a transportation modeler, an MPO planner, and a principal planner that would begin January 2027. 2 positions that are eligible for promotion. One position is a planner that we're going to be promoting to regional data strategist to begin implementing the new strategic plan focused around our regional data center. And then a transportation program manager promotion. That individual manages our RPO, which is a separate governance board. And so that position is more appropriate to be a program manager than where it's classified right now. Next slide. So salary and benefits. So there's a couple of pieces to this. So on the Central Pines side, my recommendation is a 2.2 cost of living adjustment COLA that would be applicable to all Central Pines employees. That would also mean that our minimum salaries on our pay and class table would all go up by 2.2%. I'm also recommending a 3% merit increase for our staff, for those that are eligible. Our merit policy says that employees are eligible for merit if they've been in their position for 1 year and if they meet expectations on their performance evaluation, which is done in June. So not everybody is eligible for merit. On the Triangle West side, the TPO director there is recommending a 2.2 cost of living adjustment, which would also increase the Triangle West salary scale by 2.2% on the minimums, but no merit increase recommendation for those Triangle West employees. For health insurance, we've been really happy with our new partnership with InChip. I know several of you are members of InChip as well. 6% increase. We heard one manager today say they were getting a 47% increase in health insurance. Wow. And some others that were high too. One of the really great things of being part of InChip, every year I've been here, we would get our health insurance quote about this time, maybe last week. And sometimes it threw a big wrench into the whole budget process. We knew this number in January, which meant it was just really easy to set the admin budget, set fringe rates, and just plow forward. So we appreciate the partnership with InChip very much. All right, next slide. Indirect rate. I will try to compete with a vacuum cleaner. So our indirect rate, a couple of really important points, especially, I want to go through this, especially for our new members. So we fund our lease, our IT, our finance department, our audit, our legal services, our executive time, any of those things through our indirect rate. The indirect rate is governed by the Code of Federal Regulations 200. If you need a good thing to go to sleep by, you can start reading it. So because we receive so many federal grants, that's how we budget. It's really a cost allocation plan, right, for administration. It's making sure that we are equitably charging every program the same amount for overhead. And so every year, Hope has to send into the Department of Interior, here's our administration budget. And they go through it with a fine-tooth comb and say, that's eligible, that's not eligible, that's eligible, that's not eligible. So as an example, there are things that we can pay for through indirect, but we can't pay for your meals or the board meeting through indirect. So we have to pay for that through member dues. And so they go through all that and they say, here's your approved indirect rate. Every federal agency then has to accept that rate. And how an indirect rate works, we calculate our indirect based on salary and fringe. So it's a pretty simple formula. In a program, you take the total salaries, you take the total fringe amount, you add them together, and then, well, for all the programs, then you divide it by your administrative costs and you come up with a percentage, right? And then you go back in the budget and you apply that percentage on every line, every salary line. So we always list out what our indirect rates. So basically, if you've been a program since 2017, you know, you're paying 50% on your salary and fringe. Now you're paying 40. So that means that we've been able to drop that rate to get more direct money into the game. Okay. What drives that in the downward fashion is bringing in more money, having more staff, right? Because that helps drive the rate down, controlling our costs on the admin side. So we've been able to drop that rate consistently. It went up the year we renovated, and then it's been going down again. And so our combined indirect rate and fringe rate this year is lower than last year. So for every dollar that our programs are paying in salary, this next year, they'll be saving 5 cents that they can plow back into direct services. So we try to balance our administrative needs with our programmatic needs and pay careful attention to that rate. Next slide. Almost done. Yeah, we are done. All right. So thank you for the time. Happy to answer any questions. I'll go back and sit down so the folks that are virtual can see me. They're happy to answer any questions that you might have, or any board members have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the great presentation. Great job. So before we do open the public hearing, do we have any questions from the board? You just come. Pretty thorough.
I'll be
Gonna
short too.
Yes, sir. Gonna open the public hearing. If we do have any members of the public that want to speak about this 2026-2027 recommended budget, and now would be the time. Any members of the public who talk about a budget? Anybody want to put any comments from the board on the record as part of the public hearing?
Appreciate all your hard work.
Any other comments?
I had one question that popped in my head. It's Terry Mahaffey, Apex again. Something you mentioned earlier about our fund balance, trying to build a stronger fund balance, how that's used for matching funds for grants, which is obviously sounds very important because we don't want to miss out on grants if we don't have the matching funds for it. I was kind of leaping through here. What is our current fund balance? Do you have a plan or a goal as to what we think it needs to be? Sure. And have we ever encountered a situation where we're unable to get a grant because we have the matching funds, or do you have a contingency for that situation? Do you take your hat off and go to the county and say, hey man, like we really need.
That was the $3,000 from last year.
That was $3,000, okay.
I'm gonna need to lean on Hope a little bit, general numbers. So I don't have Hope's, I know she's gonna look for specific. You can be general, it's okay. So, and we've got a chart for this and I'll be happy to send it out. So we have had, this organization has had a negative unassigned fund balance for at least 20 years. At least 20 years. It has really gone up and down. So it was like negative 700,000, so maybe 20 years ago. It started getting worse, and then it started coming back up. And I think right before COVID, we were in the negative 700 again, or negative 900 or something. COVID hit, and it went down tremendously, or up, down, negative 3 million. We brought it back up. But what I want to say about, so fund balance, unassigned fund balance is a picture in time on June the 30th. And what, again, another thing that makes COGS very different is that the LGC looks at our fund balance the same way that it looks at all of yours, but we're very different because we have so many subawards that we are not going to pay out unless we get the money from our agency. But they count that as part of that stabilization number that drops that number down. Hope can, am I doing okay? Okay. So our total fund balance, when you look at assigned and everything, we're actually fairly healthy. We're doing okay. It's that once you take away assigned and then you look at stabilization number where we drop below. So that answer, and then, so if like, we need a reimbursement and we don't get it to July 1st, then it's a $2 million reimbursement. It hits fund balance and it goes down. So we have some of that because we have programs like our Area Agency on Aging and our transportation programs that sometimes are waiting on $2-3 million reimbursements, and a day or two can make a difference. So that's part of the story. We do have a plan. We've talked to the executive committee about a fund balance policy, and we're going to be bringing that back up. Part of the reason why we increased dues 3 or 4 years ago was to begin building fund balance back. And so my intent once we can get through a finance software conversion, I think we're going to be able to free up $200,000 to $250,000 to plow into fund balance rebuilding. So that's part of our plan right now. To the question about opportunity, I'm not aware of any grants we've not been able to apply for because of a lack of match. Our staff does a really good job of looking for opportunities and finding the match that's needed. We do have contingency if we need to. I would say where it affects us probably more than anything is thinking about a big investment in something. So like we've talked a little bit about wanting to do a regional connected region plan. And, you know, if that plan is going to cost $300,000, I can't just say to you all, we've got this money in reserve, we're going to be able to just do it, not have to come hat in hand to the member governments. Having said that, many of the COGS, so the LGC does not look at us like they look at the local government. So our fund balance has never been a concern to the LGC. But my goal, we don't need millions of dollars in reserves, but I would like us to at least get to break even on that unassigned so that we're not dipping down. It's as much about cash flow for us as anything because of how we operate. I hope it's complex. And
I think so. Are you saying our unassigned fund balance is negative because we have obligations that we haven't received reimbursements for, and that counts against our?
Partially. Do you want to add any context?
I think you explained it really well. It just goes into that state stabilization calculation that we have to do according to statute, and it dips our number down quite a bit. So we work really hard to try and make sure that at June 30th, we are only 1 month out. You know, we're only missing 1 month's reimbursement or 1 quarter's reimbursement. But we have some state agencies that it might be 6 months before we get a reimbursement. You know how that goes. I'm sure all of y'all deal with that too. And so we're really using those member investment dollars at the beginning of the year. It's replenishing our cash flow so that we can then pay out those bills before we get the reimbursements back in. And so the fund balance, I think, that we really want to turn around is so that since we are so very heavily federally funded and state funded, we want to be able to be resilient enough that we've got the cash flow in the bank to, you know, if there's a federal shutdown again and the dollars are not there and they're not coming in, that we can sustain that without having to come back to you guys for any problem areas. So.
And so just to continue on with that thought, when we move forward and we build our fund balance policy, can we make sure that we take into account having to kind of struggle through the changes in the federal funding policy? I don't want us as an organization to have to make those tough choices to lay people off in the future if we can at all avoid it, because I know how difficult it was for staff to do that and make sure that you guys were still delivering excellent service to our organization as a whole, which I believe that you did. But I know that it was an extreme toll on everybody across the organization. So can we please make sure that we take that into account so that we build some resiliency into that policy so that when we are thinking about what portion of fund balance do we want to make sure that we always have on hand, that we can ensure that we are providing at least some stability so that we don't have to go through those kinds of organizational adjustments that cause that, you know, lead to us having to cut back on staff in the future.
Absolutely. And I think you articulated very well another reason why we want to make sure that we have a stronger fund balance position exactly for those reasons. So, absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And then, are there any more questions or any suggested changes to this recommended budget before we go into May? Hearing none, so we will revisit this recommended budget and it'll be presented again for the full board and look at adoption at our May 27th meeting. So our May 27th meeting with the full board, we'll be looking at adopting this budget after having it presented again just for one last time to take a look at it. Okay?
If I may, so we always will have changes to the budget. We already have some based on new programs or new things that we find out. So what we will do is we will provide sort of a line by line itemization of what we are changing from what we just presented to you to what we're going to present you in May for adoption. So I think there's already 6 or 7 items, all good things, I think, mostly. One that's going to reduce, but not much. So we'll provide that itemized list to you.
Very cool. Great presentation. Thanks, man.
Thanks, sir.
All right, let's cruise into home repair and weatherization highlight. I think we're going to have Lindsay take this one up to go for us.
So good evening. I'm Lindsay Whitten. I'm the Community and Economic Development. Oh, you're doing the slides. Community and Economic Development Director. So I will be presenting on our home repair program tonight, as well as the weatherization grant, the $10 million one that Lee spoke about earlier. Full transparency, I'm filling in for our housing program manager tonight, Hunter Fillers. So him and Jack Watson and Thomas McAllister are actually our 3 staff members who are on the ground doing all of this great work on a daily basis. So I'll speak a little bit about the overview, the process, and the impact of some of these programs. Next slide, please. So home repair is speaking to like structural repairs and health and safety repairs versus weatherization, which is more related to like energy efficiency, insulation, improved heating and cooling, weather stripping, things like that. So when we speak about our home repair programs, those are programs that are geared towards our low to moderate income residents, veterans, those with disabilities, and is really catered towards keeping our aging housing stock up to date and healthier and more or a higher quality so that individuals can age in their communities and in their homes. It's a more cost efficient model to preserve our current housing stock rather than always developing new affordable housing. Next slide. So these are the types of programs that we at CPRC facilitate. So we have an urgent home repair program, and we do that in Chatham, Wake, and we help administer Lee County's urgent home repair program. So that's $10,000 to $15,000 grants for more immediate needs like roofs, ramps, so that individuals can go in and out of their home, and then HVAC units. And that program is ran through NCHFA, North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. So their HUD dollars pass through that state program and then down to us at the COG level or whatever recipient level. The next program is our substantial repair program. So it's called Essential Single Family, Essential Single Family Repair. Sorry. And it's $30,000 to $70,000. It's a forgivable loan program. So as long as they don't sell their home within, I believe it's 5 years, then they don't owe anything to the state for that program. Obviously that $30,000 to $70,000 allows for much more substantial repairs. The state has luckily recently increased that funding from $40,000 to $70,000, much needed increase per home. So we do that ESFR program in Wake, Durham, Chatham, Lee, And then also Cumberland and Harnett, which is not in our region, but they're in Mid-Carolina's region, and Mid-Carolina doesn't do home repair activities, so we're doing it in those counties as well. And then we also have recently become the annual recipient of weatherization dollars. So it's called WAP, Weatherization Annual Program, on behalf of Orange, Chatham, and Person, which is also not in our region. That's up to $9,000 for insulation, heating and air, and minor repairs to reduce energy use. The next slide, please. So this just is to walk you through the home repair process. So sometimes we work with Preserving Home, who's a local nonprofit that does housing rehabilitation. So either we will conduct the outreach with homeowners, or we'll work with them to conduct the outreach for qualified homeowners. And then our rehab expert, Preserving Home, conducts a home assessment to see what needs are needing to take place, what's compliant with our funding source. And then we send those bids out to private contractors. Obviously, it's a typical bidding process. They respond on those bids. We select the lowest, most responsible bidder, and we go through that process for each home. And then Preserving Home, who's our current rehab expert, manages the construction of that house and provides the oversight and inspection. And then, like I mentioned, the homeowner, as long as they don't sell within 5 years, they receive, and that's just for ESFR. For the other programs, they receive, or they have no cost to them. Next slide. So we wanted to show some impact stories. Obviously, these are kind of some of the stories that we always remember. And so this was a home in Chatham County, a senior couple, veteran status. They have a combined income of $25,000 a year. We were able to do $38,000 in repair for them. So they got a new roof out of it, new central heating and air, with a 10% energy bill savings as a result of that. And then you can see it's back here. We'll show another image, but there's a new deck for accessibility so that they can get in and out of their house more comfortably. Next slide, please. And then this is the before and after. You can see how old the roof is in comparison to the new roof. And then on the next slide, you'll see the deck in the back. And then this was just a quote from them. It was like waking up to a gift from Santa on Christmas morning. So this is like a transformational, project for these homeowners. Next slide, please. Oh, and then we also wanted to play a voicemail that we actually received it was on April 9th, so about 2 weeks ago at this point. So Miss Adams is a homeowner in Durham County, and we actually provided, so Durham County actually had us administer ARPA dollars. So it's not from state, this is ARPA dollars passed through the county, then given to us for a senior home repair program recently. And Miss Adams had safety concerns with her stairs, lack of air conditioning. And we just all found this message very sweet and, indicative of the work that we're able to provide for these homeowners. So we wanted to play it, and we did get permission from Miss Adams to play it. It's just a couple minutes.
Ms. Brenda Adams, I'm calling to tell you guys thank you so very, 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 very much. God bless each and every one that had a hand in helping me get my air conditioning unit fixed and my steps on my house. Yesterday, I just thank God for the grace and mercy upon you guys and everybody that works with your team. I just want to tell you guys thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And God bless each and every one of you all. It's a blessing to have some air in your house now. I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless all.
Sweet. I know. You can tell she's almost crying, and it's just so sweet. So next slide, please.
Quick question. Is this organization not related to her program, but the general home repair program?
Yeah.
You keep the database on all these projects, and you're the ones that have to get alerted if somebody does sell within 5 years and deal with what has to happen then and all
Well, if it's with the NCHFA, they have it's in the contract that's essentially with them, I believe, until, I think that's how that works.
Or deed of trust recorded or something,
Yeah, yep.
or something recorded.
Yeah.
I was wondering who was, keeping an
Right.
eye on that, administering that, and
Yeah.
following up on all that.
We do have some data though for the impacts of the programs by county. So again, these are on the left. Those are the 5 counties that we help with ESFR, Essential Single Family Rehab. We're also helping Cumberland, but we haven't started that yet. That's a new one. That's why it's not on there. But the investment by county, this isn't just that ESFR program. So I wanted to point out, like, the reason that Chatham on the bottom is so much larger is we did have like an extra grant, Federal Home Loan Bank of Atlanta grant, and we were specifically targeting that area. Also, Chatham contributes local dollars quite frequently, so we're able to make the funding go further with our investment as well for different types of programs. And then units preserved by county 2023 to 2026. So it's a little bit small, but Chatham's a little over 35, and all the others, other than Harnett, are between 10 and 15. So, and I would say we would probably be able to do more homes, but we're dealing with some contractor issues that we're trying to work through. And, they're smaller scale projects, and not every contractor wants to work with federal dollars or, things like that. So, total number of units, 81, and a little over $1.9 million in investment. And then I'll go into the weatherization grant. So this is funding $10.9 million from the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. There's a goal of 912 units across these 15 counties. And so we'll actually work with partnering organizations, for example, maybe like Council of Governments, because all 5 of their counties are in this region as well, to help solidify more contractors and get more workers on the ground, because we know we're not going to be able to do this alone. And again, with weatherization, the goal is to keep the homes healthy, safe, and reduce their energy cost burden. And then so these are some of the opportunities that the weatherization program is going to allow. Obviously, improve the current housing stock in these 15 counties, reduce energy bills by an estimated 20%. And then we have a large wait list for home repair and weatherization projects or programs across the state. So hopefully it'll help to reduce the weatherization wait list. And then also, Lee mentioned earlier, us hiring a rehab specialist. So this opportunity is allowing us to bring some of that work in-house, which is great. And then obviously the workforce development, I already sort of mentioned it on the home repair side. It's also an issue on the weatherization side. There's just not enough contractors out there. But the state is wanting to invest in building out this workforce, and they're actually doing specific outreach to local nonprofits and like, hey, we'll train your workforce. Do you want to get into weatherization? So there's a workforce development component here as well. I believe that's the last slide, yes. So questions, yeah.
Yes.
The one online.
Yep.
Ms. Hampton.
We'll get Ms. Hamilton first, and then we'll get you.
Yeah, thank you so much for this presentation. So yeah, 2 questions. One, I noticed with the home repair that there's nothing in Orange County. So wondering about sort of how we can get connected, what are the eligibility requirements for homeowners? One question. And then the second question is, when you're talking about sort of workforce, are you working with the community colleges? Because I know Durham Tech, who also serves Orange County, is increasing their investment in skilled trades.
So for Orange County, we used to administer Orange County's ESFR, Essential Single Family Rehab, and the Urgent Repair Program, but we don't any longer. They do all of that in-house at the county. So they actually have their own inspector, I think 2 actually on staff. And so, yeah, they do that all in-house. That's, and then regarding the requirements, I believe it's 80% of the area median income, or less. For ESFR at least. Of course, it's gonna depend on the program, but I think ESFR and ERP is that, is 80%. And then the workforce question, we're not really helping to develop the workforce component. That's more of the state that's doing that through the IIJA dollars. I will say, like, we're just trying to start thinking more about how we can get contractor engagement for home repair, because it is such a issue that we're experiencing right now. Not enough contractors are bidding. So I wouldn't say that we're like giving the tools to anyone to build their workforce or build out the capacity at the local community colleges, but we have discussed like conversing with them more to see like how can we get contractors in the pipeline and want to go into this type of work. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you very much.
What did you say?
I can tell you it's timeliness of pay.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
We talked
Contractors, life.
Yeah.
They don't want to wait. It's pay, it's cash flow for their business. You know?
Especially the smaller ones. Yeah. Yep.
Smith.
Kirk Smith from Lake County. I'm fascinated that we cover more counties than what we have within the Central Pines.
Mm-hmm.
How do we pay for their staff time? We incorporate that from the grants that come in?
We do.
Okay. We do. Even if it's outside the region?
Yes.
So we'll typically reach out to them, or Lee will reach out to their executive director and ask if they're okay with us providing this type of service in their county. Like I'll speak to Harnett and Cumberland again, Mid Carolina, they don't do that work. So they're usually like happy about us, going in and helping their community.
Thank you for reaching out and taking care of it.
And what it actually does is these programs operate the administration money that we get for these units. It's actually good that we can add on additional counties because that gives us additional funds to be able to actually provide more capacity within ourselves. So bringing those dollars in from counties outside the region in some ways helps us in the Central Pines expand our services and expand our capacity.
And I'll just add that map that had the 15 counties, that boundary was selected by the state for the weatherization program. So we had no part in selecting that boundary, but yeah.
You just got the job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Hey, so the town of Apex, we have local funds for this program, probably familiar with it. And we work with Preserving Home. And I'm just looking up, trying to remember how we did it. I think we just wrote a check to them and they just administered for us. And I'm curious, because I didn't know that Central Pines also was in the business of administering these programs. Do you have any like objection, or do you think that's a fine model as well? Or would you prefer that the town of Apex and other municipalities went through you, or is it all the same? Because I'm looking at their list of partners they have, and they got a lot of people. Like they list as, Central Pines, Raleigh, Cary, Garner. Everyone's on this list. I think a lot of us go through this. So what's going on here? Like, I don't know, a tremendous amount. I was like, this is great. And so we're writing a check to them.
Yeah, they do that with a lot of local government, like Raleigh directly, Garner, I know is another one, Wake Forest. There's no preferred method, I guess, with the state, with the ESFR and the ERP projects. The state prefers there's a separate administrator. So that's kind of why that arrangement is the way that it is right now. Or I shouldn't say they prefer a separate administrator, because we might bring our inspector in-house as well. But we've always just been the recipient of those funds on behalf of our region. And honestly, I probably shouldn't speak for Preserving Home, but there's a lot of red tape with ESFR and ERP that other organizations don't really want to do. So we're doing it because a lot of people don't want to deal with the compliance. Not that they won't follow it. There is just a lot of red tape.
I see. So you specifically are administering state dollars.
It's HUD, Housing and Urban Development. It's passed through the state and then down to us. So you're following that HUD regulatory guidance.
Gotcha. So I guess
where in your case, you're just giving local dollars to Preserving Home, and there's obviously you can set the metrics.
But I thought I heard you earlier saying, like, do you solicit local municipalities to also contribute dollars to administer their programs? I hear you saying there's someone there.
No, we don't, no. Yeah, I mean, we haven't had that model or anyone approach us in that way. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I know what you're talking about. That was the Durham County Senior Home Repair Program. We
Yes.
did have that, yes. So that was Durham County had ARPA dollars and they wanted to issue it for senior home repair, and they knew that we had a home repair program. But again, that's federal dollars, ARPA, passed through the county to us, and they didn't want to administer the federal dollars. So they wanted us to administer it. And also we already have a home repair program in place and they didn't. So it just was more efficient for us to go out and operate that way. So does that answer your question?
Kind of. I'm trying to figure out if I should be doing anything different, but it sounds like no, it's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great.
Any other questions?
Anybody else? Home repair weatherization.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us down to the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have draft minutes. Second, 2005, and we've got the CPRC 2026-2029 strategic plan, and that resolution number 20260401. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Everybody else.
Fairwell, second.
Second.
We've got the second taken care of, Mr. Terry Matthew. You got a third and a fourth. Everybody wants to do it. Mr. Kirk. We got a question.
Yeah, on page 6, or 5 of 6, it says that we do get dollars on this day.
Changed.
I have updated that on our copy.
What now?
Are you talking about the minutes?
Yes.
Yes, I've updated that on my copy. So it'll be adopted today's date.
It has been updated on your copy.
Yes, the one that you'll sign, yes. Thank you for that.
Good catch. Yes. Anything else before we go to a roll call vote for the approval of the consent agenda?
I'm gonna shake it up and go backwards.
Baxter, town of Zebulon.
Okay. She was ready.
Bill's really excited. Do that again.
Bills.
Yes.
Whispering Pines.
Make sure we are saying name
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
town with the roll call vote.
Doris Riley, Wilson Smith.
Hutchinson, Whispering Pines.
Wendell. Wake Forest.
Ben Clapsaddle, Wake Forest, yes.
Wake County.
Newton Evans, Wake County, yes.
Bass. Taylortown. Southern Pines. Smithfield. Tyler City. Selma.
Town of Selma, Byron McAllister, aye.
Sanford. Rolesville.
Kern, town of Roseville, aye.
Robbins. Raleigh.
Mitchell Silver, City of Raleigh, aye.
Princeton.
Stacy Johnson, town of Princeton, aye.
Pittsburgh. Pinehurst.
Barb Ficklin, aye.
Pine Bluff. Pine Level. Orange County.
Jean Hamilton, Orange County, aye.
Morrisville. Moore County. Micro.
Edie Garcia, town of Micro, aye.
Lee County.
Kirk Smith, Lee County, aye.
Nightdale. Henley. Johnston County. Holly Springs.
Krista Shazer, Holly Springs, aye.
Hillsborough,
Kathleen Ferguson, Hillsborough, I.
Garner, Fuquay Varina,
Chris Warren, Fuquay Varina, aye.
Foxfire, Durham County,
Michelle Burton, Durham County, I.
City of Durham, Layton, Chatham County,
Amanda Robertson, Chatham County, I.
Cary, Carthage, Scarborough, Broadway,
Donald Andrews, Town of Broadway, aye.
Benson, Archer Lodge, Apex,
Terry Mahaffey, Town of Apex, I.
Anger,
Chabelle Harmon, Town of Anger, I.
Aberdeen,
Town of Lawrenson, Town of Aberdeen, I.
and I was told Taylortown and Wendell are on, so we'll go back to Taylortown. Wendell. Going one. Okay, we're approved.
Consent agenda is approved. That'll bring us down into the chair's report. First, I'd like to report that even though I knew we were going backwards, I was still shocked not to hear Sanford first. But Ms. Robertson has a little bit of information that I'm very interested in hearing as well. I know many of us are, to further the conversations we were having previously about flock cameras and the concerns along with that.
Yeah, and I regret I had to miss the last meeting, so if I missed a conversation on that, it's regrettable because this is important. But our county actually and our attorney reviewed a contract, and Kathleen Ferguson, if you have information that you may have already shared it. So again, I apologize if I missed that conversation. But we voted on Monday to cancel that contract because our attorney identified quite a bit of language in there that really is very unclear and puts residents or people just in the county at risk of having their data shared outside of our county. Our sheriff's department had signed the contract, and we believed, and citizens were really upset about this, that would get out and used in ways that were really inappropriate. And so what we ended up doing, just for anybody's interest, on Monday in this new age of AI and data collection and everything that's going on out there, is we directed staff to please go and do a review and create a recommended policy on data. You know, we don't want to take future instances away from the county manager's ability because he approves a lot of contracts every year and have to approve all of those as the county board. But to create a policy for what kinds of things would identify a flag between the manager and others and the attorney to come back and say, yeah, this actually is quite questionable. And then that can be shared with our sheriff's office and our schools and others in the county that typically make those contract decisions on their own. So I think we live in a really kind of a new age that we're all sort of, making new policies and adjusting to really quickly. And so thank you for giving me the floor for a minute just to share that out. And I hope some of that was new and useful and not duplicative.
Absolutely. No, and that's good, not only even if it is mentioned multiple times. I know a lot of our communities are taking up that technology right now. Our community has that technology right now. And the concerns and the noise about the problems that may arise from those practices are growing every day. So I think it's a conversation that needs to be continued. And it's either, again, our communities make decisions to move away from things that might be questionable, or these companies start making decisions and making policies that dial back some of the pieces of that technology that might be questionable.
And they may, rewrite the contract and come back and say, hey, this is, will it meet? And, that's a different story. Right now, it's just pretty frightening. So.
And to your point, multiple communities saying the same thing is helpful. One community, no big deal. You lose 20 communities, you have a different conversation.
Measure of numbers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Also with that, of course, with our legislature back in session as of yesterday. Of course, top item in conversation, budget. All the rest of us have to pass one, right? Come on. Ms. Ferguson, I'm sorry, before we go on through that.
That's all right. No, I heard, I got that, but just to clarify, for Hillsborough with Flock, we did cancel our contract. The rationale, yes, data use being one, but a major reason was that the accountability, the way the contract was written, that the Flock could override our board voting. We felt that accountability rested with the board and not with the company or the shareholders of the company.
Excellent piece of information. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So everybody keep that in mind as we're talking about those programs. Like I said, I know we're probably going to have a conversation soon in the town of Selma about that very thing. Thank you. Thank you. So yes, state legislature back in session, budget top of the conversation, of course. The Medicaid rebase, I believe as of today, they've gotten some agreement on that between the House and the Senate, thankfully. Of course, that property tax conversation that we're all paying quite a bit of attention to. They seem to be driving downhill very quickly with some interestingly poor ideas, quite frankly. I think we do
That's a
all.
good way to put it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Trying to be diplomatic. But I do think we need to, again, the voices of many, we need to make sure we stay in the conversation because that could be catastrophic for a lot of our communities. It could be catastrophic for all of our communities, counties included. That's very crazy.
I think what we find is there's Chevelle Harmon, town manager. I think what I hear a lot too is there's a large disconnect between municipalities to the county to the state, right? So the state where they try to do as much as they can, they don't really know how it affects unless we go and voice those concerns. And so I know that sounds a little naive, but the communication and the concerns have to be brought to them. And the more they hear it, the more repeatedly they hear it, the more important it becomes. And so, I don't know, I just think those communication, the communication is really important.
We need to start coordinating efforts amongst ourselves. We did a decent job with the zoning reform conversation recently. I mean, it got to a fever pitch and I saw a lot of emails flying back and forth as the letters of resolution being sent to our state legislature.
Harnett followed right behind Wake with a resolution.
That's right.
Concerning property taxes.
Is advising the municipalities, but our state association is asking every county to consider passing a resolution against the constitutional amendment, but also just against any restrictive policies that would restrict our ability to set our own tax levy.
And you mentioned that. I do wish there was some more intentional communication from the League of Municipalities to all of our communities. They send emails out that have lots of colors and nice newsletters and all that good stuff, but we usually don't open them. We usually don't take a glance at them. And at the end of the day, I would love to see some more direct communication about issues like this so that everybody knows, let's have this conversation. Yes.
Our executive director is fired up at NCACC and he's hosting webinars and trying to get every county logged on, and he's firing them up.
Let me give Mr. Andrews here.
Donald Andrews, Chandler Broadway. On behalf of the league, league president of the Metro Mayors and president of the Mayors Association did draft a letter and send to all legislators about the property.
So that was sent via email or?
No, it was to the General Assembly members signed by the president of the North Carolina League of Municipalities, and president of the Metro Mayors, and president of the North Carolina Mayors Association.
So with that, I think it would be nice to see the approach of, hey, let's get the individual municipalities to make sure they're speaking up as well.
Yes, I would encourage any municipality or county to adopt a resolution and get it to their local elected officials and to the county association and the league association. I think both are requesting that.
think there's a boilerplate resolution out there somewhere?
I'm sure the league has
We-
one.
We have one through the association. Excuse me, Kirk Smith, Lee County, we passed a resolution Monday night and sent that out most haste Tuesday morning.
Well, if everybody would like to share and get that out to our communities, that's why we have these conversations. That would be great.
We, Amanda Robertson, Chatham County, we also signed ours on Monday and sent it off. So, yeah, I mean, I think, again, he was very proactive. Can't imagine a county not jumping on that and doing it. People are up in arms about it.
So certainly up from the municipal level, if certainly the county resolutions, we could send those down and certainly.
I'll reach out to the league and ask if maybe they can send something out in the morning.
That's rock and roll. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Beyond that, involuntary commitment reform is on the top of the list. Data centers and energy reform, of course, are becoming a hot topic right now. And of course, that conversation about teacher, state worker, and law enforcement pay. So those are the top conversations coming into short session that I think all of us need to pay very close attention to as well, because this is drastic change in our state that we're discussing right now. Drastic change. Beyond that, new members, new alternates, new delegates. I encourage you not only join virtually, but do take the opportunity to come into the room, get face to face with the board of delegates. And again, there's a lot of amazing things that our staff is making happen here at Central Pines Regional Council. I've got Councilwoman Amy West Whitley here, our alternate delegate for Central Pines Regional Council, here with me today. Just every once in a while, pop into at least once or twice a year. And particularly make sure you're getting geared up for our December celebration at the end of the year. We're going to go ahead and tell everybody right now. Get on the calendar. Make sure that you pop in and come and meet all the wonderful legislators throughout our region. Sorry, we good? As always, staff, rock and roll, strategic plan, that budget, impressive work, and you make it look so easy. We all stare at you and are like, how? How? Thank you.
Thank you. No, we appreciate the board's support, and so few items for the board's information. Number one, also welcome to our new delegates, new alternates. If you were not able to participate in one of the new board member orientations and you're interested in doing that, I'm more than happy to sit down with you virtually or in person and talk more about the organization. I realize coming in as a new elected official for this organization, there's a lot. So always happy to sit down and talk more about any questions that you have. One thing I didn't mention in the budget presentation that I should have, we are making a transition next fiscal year to a new IT provider. And that's important because, well, obviously we all need technology, but our technology for the last 7 years has actually been provided by one of our local government members, the town of Cary. And so Cary, about 5 or 6 months ago, let us know that they were not going to be able to continue on with the contract. And I just want to thank Cary. When we transitioned to Cary, we were struggling in the IT area, and they helped us modernize. They're a reason why we've got great technology in these rooms, and they've done just a great job. I'm also excited, though, to say that we're going to continue with member governments. The town of Morrisville is going to be stepping in as our technology provider on the 1st of July. I think their board still needs to formally adopt the contract, but we're excited about that transition to Morrisville. So just wanted to let you know about that. I emailed the executive committee this morning, but wanted to go ahead and share this more widely with the board. We have begun some conversations with the city of Sanford and with the Sanford Housing Authority about perhaps providing some management related services to the housing authority. They are without a executive director right now. So I'll certainly communicate more as that progresses, but wanted to make you aware of that because that will likely, if that happens, it could hit the newspaper. So just didn't want you to be surprised with that situation. I'll certainly keep you up to date around that. I'm glad Delegate Garcia is here tonight with Micro. I don't know, last week or the week before, Micro approved or accepted their audit for fiscal year 24-25, which officially got them all caught up on their audits. We've been working with Micro for a couple of years now, and I think this sort of doesn't formally do our work with Micro, but it certainly concludes a significant part of the work. And the entire board there has just been very supportive of us, and we do appreciate that very much. And that's certainly something to celebrate with Micro.
Deeply grateful for everyone's addition to that.
Yes, yes, thank you. A couple of exciting announcements on workforce. We've been awarded $200,000 as one of 10 grantees in the Advancing Workforce Mobility Initiative. It's a $3.5 million national effort led by Education Design Lab in partnership with Credential Engine and supported by Walmart. We were selected from a pool of more than 400 applicants, and we'll be using the funding to research and prototype skills-based credentialing frameworks for high opportunity local government roles across Central North Carolina. We're going to be partnering with local governments, workforce organizations to research and prototype a skills-based approach to defining, hiring, and compensating for selected high vacancy local government roles. Some may include utilities, maintenance and land management, social work, and EMS. We'll be working with local governments and workforce partners to identify the skills needed and map those skills. And so this is a good example of some really cool things that our new HR consortium is talking about and actually getting big wins on. So if you'd like to learn more about the HR consortium, you can talk to Hannah. Hannah just raised her hand. She supports that group. So thank you to that. The other exciting thing is I don't remember that we've ever been included in a congressionally directed grant. We've actually been recommended for 2 grants in the last week or 2. One is a $1.3 million regional critical home repair project that Representative Foushee has sponsored as part of her directed grant program. And then the second is a $500,000 regional housing capacity and infrastructure initiative, which both Congresswoman Foushee and Congresswoman Ross both submitted on our behalf. And so we just very much appreciate their support, and really our entire delegation. We have a really good relationship with all of our congressmen and women and both our senators, and we appreciate that very much. Finally, I'm remiss in not thanking staff for putting up with me as we develop a budget. I can be very demanding around the budget. I get very focused, and I drive them crazy sometimes. But
They don't seem to agree.
What?
They do agree.
That was the word they used.
See some of the messages. But Hope and Jenny and just the leadership team. Beth is responsible for this beautiful presentation. Elena with helping me message, and Grace is our lead for NC Fellow. She helped put the PowerPoint together, and I know I'm missing people. I'm sorry if I did. We've got a great team, and so thank you to our staff. Put together a great job. That is all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you. I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. Go Canes.
Awesome. Is there any other business, anything else that we need to touch on before we adjourn this thing? Hearing none, we'll call it an evening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Have a good night. Safe.